Hello participants, I invite you to the lecture 55 of micro irrigation engineering subject. This lecture 55 is on economic analysis of micro irrigation system part 1. In previous lectures we discussed about theoretical aspects of micro irrigation system. We discussed about different components, we discussed about the basic hydraulics of micro irrigation system and its design, and also we discussed on how the water is moving through a drip emitter and to model micro irrigation system or dripper. Then one of the most important thing when we are designing the system, we take care about how much is the energy, how it should be efficient, hydraulically efficient system, but at the same time to adopt this system in the field, economics of the micro irrigation system or any system in that matter, it is important that whether it is economically viable. On the economics aspect, we are going to discuss about the basic terminologies which are related to economic evaluation. So, what are the different types of cost, what is the meaning of supply and demand, and how to evaluate, make the benefit cost analysis of the system. So, these are the some terminologies which will be dealt in this particular lecture. As I told you that yes, planning of any irrigation system or for that matter any system when we are talking, it should be economically and financially feasible, and this evaluation means of financial as well as economic evaluation is important to make it acceptable by the society, by the market. So, economic feasibility evaluation, it assesses the economic viability of the planned development and it assists in selecting the farm irrigation system among various alternatives, while financial feasibility evaluation assesses the financial condition, and that will be encountered in developing and operating the irrigation farms, that irrigated farm, that whether this particular alternative will be the solution. Now, important part of the irrigation system is determining the expected annual cost of owning and operating each feasible alternative designs. So, there could be different plans, there could be different designs, and then one should check which design or which particular option is feasible. So, there are some agencies from which the finance is being given, maybe the finance is given by the government of India or state government, or there are financial agencies like banks. So, they evaluate the soundness or whether the project which had been prepared, it is sound enough, and then it will be the particular borrower will be able to repay the loan if he gets the finance from the funding agency. So, a term called when we are talking about the cost. So, there are different types of cost. One is variable cost, another one is the fixed cost. So, means the total cost, when we say, it is the sum of these two costs, and when you look the diagram here, it says some particular output or produce which has come to the market, and then it had been given the cost, then what is the total cost it involves. So, that particular product we are putting then what is the variable cost, and what is the fixed cost. So, fixed cost is constant, means it is fixed, and but when we are making the total cost. So, sum of these two costs when we are making it, this plus this, you can see. So, this green line, it is a total cost, or I am putting it say at 1, this is the some particular cost it is there, and then this some value it is given for the fixed cost, and then sum of these two is giving this value. So, this is the way. So, fixed, what is the fixed cost? Fixed costs are also known as annual ownership cost. They are generally independent of level of supply use. It includes annual depreciation, it includes the interest, it includes the yearly expenditure, including taxes and insurance, etc. So, depreciation is the another part which it is to be accounted. So, depreciation, what is the meaning of depreciation? Depreciation means to distribute the cost of a given component over a expected life. So, each system, each component, it has got expected life, and so that has to be taken consideration while we are getting the annual cost made. So, useful life for the sum of the components of irrigation system, we can see, because if we are taking water from the well, so here it is the say well and casing. So, depreciation means life is wells and casing, it is between 20 to 30 years, and then annual maintenance and repairs, it is in percentage, that is 0.5 to 1.5% of the initial cost which is there. So, that is taken care. Similarly, these are other components, say pumping plant structure, pump, vertical turbine pump. So, then it has got some certain components under this pump, that could be column, there are valves, and it has got a specific values. These values are not exactly what is the prevailing market values, but some values are given. For an example, it is given because this value is changing, the cost is always escalating, and then it has got expected some period of life. So, they are to be included, and then this is a percentage of the initial cost. This is the value for the annual maintenance. So, this is 5 to 7%, say valves and then columns, etc. So, each has got it. Then centrifugal pump, power transmission, gear, head, V belt, and so like this, for each these are the components, and these components are to it has got its own some life, and accordingly the annual cost is estimated. Similarly, there are other components, these are the pipes. So, these pipes could be up made up of different material, PVC, HDP, and it has got its own life, and then what is the annual cost maintenance. So, it comes to the 0.25 to 0.75% of the initial cost. So, aluminum pipe, so pipes are of different material, and it has got its own life. Plastic pipe, plastic trickle surface, means this irrigation, that is 10 years it has been reported, and then sprinkler heads, the drip emitters, the trickle filters. So, it has got also, and then considerable amount it goes for the initial cost. Then the reservoirs, then the mechanical move sprinkler system, continuously sprinkler system, prime mover. So, each of these it has got its own, and then these costs are taken means considering the 1980 price. So, you can understand this much of appreciation has to be added, whereas the life of the system will remain same, and then approximately when we are computing, then one can take the values of the initial annual maintenance and repair cost, so much of the percentage of the initial cost. Interest cost, which when we were talking about finding out the annual cost. So, we are taking the depreciation. Now, interest is the return from productivity invested capital. So, when money is borrowed to the finance for initial cost of the irrigation system, interest is the money paid for the use of borrowed money. So, particularly for agriculture purpose, the interest rate is low as compared to other commodity or other industries. So, Government of India is giving priority and banks are giving priority for the irrigation system. We will discuss when we will come about the particular micro irrigation promotion. Government of India is giving 50% of the cost for this. So, here interest rate, if 50% money it is taken from the bank, accordingly the bank also charge interest, and then for agriculture purpose the interest rate is low. So, variable cost, these costs are those which vary as the total cost to the farmer means grower when the output or for agriculture person production it varies. In fact, variable cost will vary in exactly the same proportion as the output, and these include the cost of labor, electricity charges, and there are other the expenses which are taken in the variable cost. Marginal cost is another terminology which is used. Marginal cost is the increase in variable cost associated with the unit increase in the cost of production. So, that becomes your as unit increase in the production, then marginal cost also is associated with that. Then there are other terminology. Marginal cost is given by change in the total cost divided by the change in the quantity of the goods produced. So, this ratio gives the marginal cost, which can be also given as a change in the variable cost divided by the change in the total quantity of goods produced. And this is for discrete charge of the total quantity of produced, and for infinitesimal charge of the change of Q, infinite change of Q, it can be given by marginal cost can be given as the change in the total cost to the change in the total quantity of goods produced. So, this way it is. Then from there we are getting average cost. This average cost is the cost associated to each unit of production, that how much it costs the average to produce 1 unit of output. Now, total production cost can be shown here, and you can see here a diagram has been plotted, particularly means taken as an example for the maize production, and when the input fertilizer or nutrient is being it has been added. So, what we see in the first stage, we see there is a exponential increase in the production, means as we keep on increasing the quantity of input fertilizer, the produce is also increasing, but the rate of increase, if you see the slope of this curve. So, slope of curve you may find that it is very steep, whereas in this case the slope is slowly, it is there is a increase, but the rate of increase is lesser than as compared to the phase 1. But when we come to the third stage, it has come almost to the stable and no further increase. If you further increase the quantity of input fertilizer, then the yield decreases. So, output decreases when the further increase in the input, that is your fertilizer, is given. Now, this can be stated by the law of marginal return. So, this is given this is law of diminishing marginal return given. the fixed factors, production cannot increase indefinitely until other factors also increase or decrease. So, that is a important part to be considered when we are considering the total cost of production. Supply and demand, this is a very important from the marketing point of view, that how the supply and demand of the commodity it is changing the price. So, supply, what is the supply? Supply is the quantity of a commodity that sellers are able and willing to offer for sale at different prices per unit of time. This is the important terminology, and law of supply states that quantity of good offered or willing to offer by producer or owner for sale, it increases with increase in the market price of the good and falls if vice versa. If the supply is decreased, then you may find that the means the price it is false, then supply also decreases. So, all other things remaining unchanged, provided all other things are unchanged. So, supply it is a function of, we can say, the price, it is a means and the price of related goods and then the number of producers. So, supply it is a function of the price of the means item, then price of related similar goods and then the number of producers. Now, this is the diagram, you can see here how the when you are seeing the trend is almost same. Trend is same means when supply is being given, you are seeing that the as the quantity it is increases. This is the case when you are seeing that the when the quantity is increasing, the as the price is increasing, means the quantity increases, the price is increasing when only one is there, and then in then when you see here, this is the example it is given, that a case of a soybean. For example, that say that some new soybean farmer enter the market, clearing after when he see that he gets the good price. So, he increases the area under cultivation, and then he gets the price as it happens. But what happened, more soybean bean is being produced, if the price remain the same, meaning that the supply curve itself shifts to the this part, means the supply has increased, but the price will not, he is not going to get the price. So, in other words, supply will increase, but the price will, he will not going to get the same price though. So, other factor can shift the supply curve as well. What we see, change in the price of production. If the change in the price of production, if the drought occurs, say let us say when there is a water scarcity, particularly when there is a drought case. So, then price of the same commodity it increases. So, it becomes the same, but trend of the curve when you see whether it is S1 or S2 or S3, it is same, but the curve changes its position depending on the market prevailing price and the market or other climatic factor and other prevailing factor it happens. Demand is the another term which is used in this economic analysis. So, demand is the desire to purchase and willingness and ability to pay particular goods. It is an effectiveness of the desire which explains ability and willingness to pay for a particular commodity. Law of demand states that as the price increases, the consumer buyer will buy less of a particular commodity and vice versa. So, major characteristics of demand are ability and willingness to pay for a particular commodity by the user. The demand is always at a given price third one is means these are the major characteristics of the demand: ability and willingness to pay. Second thing is the demand is always at a given price, and demand is always per unit of time. So, it is also function of time. Now, you can see here the curve is plotted here. There is a quantity, means this is the produce which are in the number, and this is the price. So, price, when the price falls, say this is the case, P 1, and so P 1. So, at this particular quantity Q 1, and then what you find that this is the point at which it is intersecting, but when the price falls the same quantity, it is coming, this is your this particular value. So, the demand will in the P 2 means P 1 to P 2, the quantity demanded increases from Q 1 to Q 2, from Q 1 to Q 2. So, the means your for the same product, but the demand has increased. So, this is a negative relation between price and quantity, hence negative slope of the demand is schedule, that is demand schedule. This is the understanding about the how the demand with the price, it is varying with the change in the quantity and price of the product. Benefit cost analysis or cost benefit analysis, it provides the systematic set of procedure by which any industry or owner can assess whether to take a project or an irrigation system or any cropping pattern or any technology when there is a choice between mutually exclusive projects or program or crop, means whether we are getting benefit whatever investment we make. So, cost benefit analysis is used to assess the value for money of large projects or adoption of new technology in agriculture or change in cropping pattern. So, this is a very important thing when the technologies are coming up. One need to know, say we are talking about precision agriculture, we are talking about the application of drones and then application of fertilizer at a particular, but whether we are getting benefit out of that, but how much benefit, how much it is cost effective, those are to be analyzed. So, net present value expresses the difference between the discounted present value of future benefits and then discounted present value of future cost. So, NPV is given by, that is the present value, that benefit minus the cost, since PV minus means your present value, present cost and present how much benefit it is, that will be the net present value. And the formula to calculate the present value for a given future value and the given interest rate can be estimated by using this expression, where the future value divided by 1 plus interest rate to the power number of years or what is the period. So, for a given period PV can be, present value can be estimated. Now, for there is a decision rule, that where net present value means your decision rule is for whether to accept or reject. If NPV is greater than means 0, we will accept. If it is less than 0 means we are in loss and we will not, or we will reject. So, benefit cost ratio is given by the term, that is the benefit divided by the cost, means present value benefit and present cost. So, denominator of the benefit cost ratio, the present value of all the project cost, not just for capital cost. So, decision rule here, if BCR, that is benefit cost ratio, is greater than 1, it is to be accepted. If it is less than 1, that project needs to be rejected. Now, it should be clear that when net present value is greater than 0, then BCR will be greater than 1. If it is less than, NPV is less than 0, then it is going to be means benefit cost ratio is less than 1. Internal rate of return, this is the another important terminology. So, this is given as the interest rate at which the net present value of the project equals to 0. So, when IPR is greater than the rate of interest, means your internal rate of return is greater than the interest someone is paying, then only it is to be accepted, otherwise not. Payback period, initial investment divided by the next inflow value. So, this is estimated. Once one can decide in favor of the project with shorter payback period, decision can be taken solely based on the payback period criteria. Break even analysis, this is the another important terminology and important aspect when we are evaluating the project, when we are spending in the project. So, break even is used to give answer that what is the minimum level of sales that ensures the company will not experience loss, or we can say how much one can sell means decrease, so that company still continues to get profit. So, this analysis of the level of sale at which the company or project would make 0 profit, as its name implies, this approach determines the sales need to break even. Now, you can see here this particular diagram. So, this diagram it is plotted between the cost means output and with cost. So, there are two costs you can see here, fixed cost, another one is the variable cost, and then the sum of these two costs. Sum of these two costs means your fixed cost, variable cost. So, there is a linear relationship, and then there is a linear relationship with the output and income. Now, here the description I can say the line OA is the variation of the income at varying level of the production activity, and OB is the total fixed cost in the business. So, as output increases, the variable cost means it also it also increases. So, total cost will also means when output we are increasing, the total cost will increase, and mainly the variable cost will also increase. So, at low level of output, costs are greater than income. Okay, at the point of intersection means this is the point where we can say that this is the point of intersection, that this is the point P. The costs are equal means this cost is equal to the income, whatever the cost means your income is as well as profit, we can say this is at this point it is equal. So, this is a break even point. If our cost, this cost is less than your means then it is a loss, and when the profit will be there. So, this cost is more than the total cost is your total income is more than the cost involved, that is your fixed cost plus variable cost. So, this particular value we can say when let us say at this particular point. So, this is the cost involved, and then above this is the profit. So, this income can be taken as means income, total income minus total cost involved, that will give us the profit, and that is what it is important. Break even point can be computed by using the relationship that it is the ratio of the total fixed cost to the difference in the selling price per unit of production minus the variable cost per unit of production. So, this way we have studied the different terminologies, and for more detail you may go through these references for more details of the study. So, in this particular lecture we have studied the total cost including variable as well as fixed cost. We also tried to learn supply demand concept. We also tried to learn the break even point analysis and cost benefit analysis, and so this is we discussed, and then further on this topic we will discuss in the forthcoming lecture in the your lecture 55. Thank you very much.